Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davison. You're watching Conversations in Pop Culture, and we are back to the basics. And before I introduce my guest, I would like to remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by my friends over at Pocket Jack Comics, with books like Palace of the Golden Princess and White Lily. And you can find their books at pocketjackcomics.com. And just please go check out their stuff. Obviously, they're a sponsor, they're helping making the show happen. But enough about that, because I have with me comic creator Joe Soliz. And so I hope I got your last name right. I'm a little bit nervous about it. But
No,
welcome
you
back.
got it right. You got it perfect.
I feel much better. We're already off to a better start here. It's usually a good sign of many things to come. But obviously, you got a lot going on with
Yeah.
right now Child's Play Comics' fifth anniversary hardcover book, which is part of a Kickstarter promotion called Make 100. And we're going to get into that. But why don't you quickly introduce who you are? Because I think it's been 2 or 3 years since you've been on last.
Yes. Yeah, I was just looking it up because I have the old episode saved under my playlist on YouTube, and I was like, man, that time just really flew by, didn't it? 'Cause, and
We all have an excuse for last year, though. We all have an excuse for last year because last year was not the year. We were speaking about it briefly before, and I feel free to challenge me, anybody on this. If you had a great 2025, please tell me because I want to be your friend, and I want to know how, and I wish I was your friend at the start of it. But anyway, why don't you quickly introduce who you are because it's been a while.
Sure. Yeah, no. So my name is Joe Soliz. My wife, Sarah Childs, and we own Child's Play Comics. We've been doing it, like you mentioned, we've been doing the comic thing for 5 years, but our LLC is actually 12 years old because we used to own a comic and game shop here in our town. Um, Thankfully, we sold it a couple of years before the pandemic came along, so that was kind of a blessing in disguise. Um, but during the pandemic, we had our son, and so we were pretty much homebound, and that's when I have artist friends, and they were like, do you want to finally start trying to do comics like we talked about for years? And I was like, yeah. Even when I sold them in our store, that topic never came up. It was just all about selling other people's comics. Never was, do we want to make some ourselves? And so we made our first one in 2021, and then as we slowly were coming out of the pandemic, we came out of it a lot slower than most people because we had a newborn. But then we started hitting the con circuit in 2023, and I've done it for the past couple of years. Now we've got a few books under our belt, and that's what the hardcover you mentioned is about. It was one of those realizations. We were finishing out 2025. Like you say, we'll probably get into it more, but yeah, it definitely had its ups and downs. I mean, our Kickstarter did well. uh
I want to talk about a bunch of stuff, and I want to briefly want to talk about something that I think is interesting because you have a different perspective. Before we get into the Kickstarter,
mm-hmm.
being a comic shop owner, a game shop owner, and in that sector, and then coming into the industry from that angle, probably gives you a different outlook on the industry. Because when you're selling comics and you're selling, I guess, comic accessories, what we'll call them, which could be Funkos, graphic novels, manga, board games, all of that stuff kind of falls into the pop culture bubble. You have a different realization, I feel, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here, about how the industry works, what a creator is, or what a creator is selling you, and what you as a buyer needs, what a store needs. And I sell comics on eBay, and I used to sell a lot more, and I'm now in cards for a bunch of reasons, but you have a better idea of that side of the industry. And I think it's a real skill to know that because I'm sure you know creators and they don't know anything about how retail works in reality.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the thing about me is I come from a background in retail and finance. I worked for a bank for 10 years leading up to the pandemic, and that also overlapped with having our store. And so I just took the lessons that I learned in customer service there and just applied them to the store. It's still products, it's just different clientele, obviously. um, so we just, especially since we're very family friendly and everything we do is all ages and teen. uh, we were all about, I mean, you can still go back to our Facebook and read some of the old comments about how customers were always happy because we welcomed them into the store. They felt like they belong there, or people who didn't feel like they could go anywhere else. They came and they could be themselves at our store. And so things like that. I think that personal side is more was more our strength for me and my wife, because we both come from retail backgrounds. And so all that to say that, whether it was selling a comic to somebody or opening a bank account, somebody sitting in front of me for 15 minutes, I had to learn how to quickly, you know talk to the person, ask the right questions, get to know what they're looking for. And of course, in the world of comics, uh, there's so many things to pick from. So it was just like, give me some tidbits, tell me what you like, or are you looking for something in particular, the classic questions, and then kind of guiding them in that direction. um
Yeah.
so yeah, it was just about communication, really.
Because what I'm really think is important is that you understand that let's say I wanted to carry your book in my eBay store or a comic shop calls you up, you have a better idea per se than I would say maybe 80% of people in comics and even some of these veterans. Because
Mhm.
until you run a comic store and those numbers are not the same numbers as everybody else's, I know my numbers to the T. I know
Mhm.
what I make on every single one of my products, and I know that on a $7 card, I make X, and on a $1,500 card, I make Y. And same thing
Mhm.
with comics. And I know my numbers off the top of my head. And if you were to give me six products and through my eBay store right now, I can tell you exactly what I paid for them, exactly what the fees are going to look like, exactly what shipping is going to look like, and exactly every other little tchotchke problem. And
Yeah.
I think it's so interesting because that's a business side that is applied just naturally to your Kickstarter.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I always give the example of, you still have to read the local customers that are coming into your store. The example I always give is that, at the time when the store was open, uh, Walking Dead was still being released regularly, was still a top selling book, right? I did have some subscribers to it, but uh, the ones that I just kept up on the shelf just would not sell. I don't know why. I don't know what it was, but I had to read that and be like, okay, that's a popular book. I have subscribers that are getting it, but I cannot be spending extra money to keep these on the shelf if they're not going to sell. And it doesn't matter, you could justify it all you want, say, well, this is it's got the best TV show, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. You have to read what's going on in your store and in your clientele. And that's the key too, is you have to adjust and adapt. And I did. Same thing you're talking about cards. I don't know. When you're talking about cards, I'm not sure specifically what cards, but I'll tell you this, being a comic and game shop, uh, people will tell you, oh, well, you got to get the Magic people in there. You got to get the Pokemon kids in there. Yeah, those are the two top selling card games. But we already had other stores in the area that were filling that gap. And, we kind of tried and there was no breaking into that. So we went to the other games that were not being serviced in our area at the time, which was like Yu Gi Oh! There was an anime based game called Force of Will. And we built two strong communities in our store based off of those two games, and I made more money off of those two games than I did off of Magic and Pokemon. So again, just had to adapt to what showed up, in our store.
Well, I'm very niche down in which that I definitely play with the WNBA heavy.
Mm.
For the reason that I was an early adapter into that. Got made fun of by a lot of people, and then I said, "You're right, please make fun of me. I just made $4,000 last month. That $4,000 is not making fun of me, but that's okay. You can." No, 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 no. I made way more than that. But not the point. But the early adapter, right? Early adapter into that when people thought that and still an early adapter to it. Except Caitlin Clark, when she doesn't play, my sales go down by 25%. Like one girl ruins 25% of my business. I don't even know her. I don't even know her. She could shoot a good 3-point shot, and I don't even know her, but she took out like 25% of my business. I'm so upset with her. And I like her, and I just bought her like Odyssey book that came with cards too, and it was a great book. And like I love Caitlin Clark, but Just so upsetting. But anyway, we don't have to get into that. One girl ruined 25% of my business. Absolutely terrible. Just terrible. She better fucking play. She better fucking play this season. I swear to God. She better play.
I will tell you one thing I think you'd appreciate then. There's the comic shop just 20 minutes up the road. He's been there for years, I'd say like 30 plus. And one of his specialties is sports cards. And I'm pretty sure he does the whole eBay thing and all that. And, that's a huge chunk of his business that he doesn't really like promote because the comic shop is the front facing part. And he'll literally be in the back just doing what you're talking about, breaking packs, has his regular clients just for that. And
break packs. I buy 25 or 50 of the same card. It's amazing. I'm getting, and I don't even, and there's no like time sensitivity with it. I break packs too, but like I don't even break packs. My whole business is Tops now and Panini Instant. It's amazing. It's amazing. And the only thing I need to do is I just need to get a wholesale license. I need to be able to buy more from them. But one girl ruined 25% of my business. But that's not what we're here for. I do want to get into the Kickstarter because, obviously, as we kind of alluded to, it is a 5th year anniversary. I don't want to say it's an anthology, but it's a collection. I don't know exactly how to explain it, right? I also want to say it's a sampler because it's not a sampler, right? These are all 5 different stories.
Yes.
And it's an issue 0, issue 1s. But it's your work as a company. And that's what's interesting about it is that, and it's also super limited. So what prompted this? Because you could have done anything with Make 100, technically.
It was one of those things, when we were wrapping up 2025 and already, talking about the Kickstarters that we were going to do for this year. I had already known about Kickstarter's Make 100 event from last year, and it's an interesting concept. Pick 100 of something and make it for your Kickstarter. And so I just sat down. I printed out a 100 square grid off of the internet, and I started filling in the pages from all our books. And it just so happened when I got to the end, it equaled 100 exactly. I'm like, I can play with this theme. 100-page book, make 100. And then actually it was after that I realized, hey, wait, it's the 5-year anniversary. And so literally this all came together, I would say late November, and then through December, me and one of my friends who's an artist helps with all this stuff. I was like, I commissioned the cover first. And I was like, can you help me put this together in a month, basically? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And, it just all came together so fast. And it was such a fun way to kind of, like we're talking about 2025 was rough. And so this was a way to let's just go charging into 2026 on the Kickstarter side. Let's kind of set the cons aside. We'll still do some, but not all of them. And let's really focus on the Kickstarters. And so this just felt right. And everything fell into place. And the reason it's limited is because Kickstarter says part of the rule has to be 100 of something. So in order to not have a bunch of excess books, I was just like, well, if we get to 100, that's it. You can have the digital after that, but that's it, and we still got a ways to go. So
let's talk about this a little bit too, because obviously it's an interesting position because you're not really creating anything new as far as story goes.
Oh no, there's one new story in there. There's a preview of an upcoming book.
Fair enough, but so you have 4 stories that have already been published, and they were published, I think, in floppies. Is that? Yes. And so now they're being first time published in a hardcover, a graphic novel. I'm not exactly sure what we call this, a trade paperback or a trade, whatever it is. It's all the same, right? If you publish something in a book, it's a graphic novel. Everybody, I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to deal with that.
I agree.
It's tomato. Let's stop pretending here. That is anything different. But anyway, so on that side, it's cost effective because the art for these stories is done for at least 4 of them, and then one of them's a preview. But I don't think you paid for the art for the preview because I think it was one of your friends' book that's coming out later this year.
No, beyond that one. So his is actually another. His would technically be a 6 story. So the fifth one for us is a new book
I stand
that I paid
corrected.
for.
Maybe I
Yeah.
misread the Kickstarter. My bad.
No. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. So it's 4 release stories, one upcoming, and then he gave me one of his to put in there because he's his day job is he works for Gearbox, so he's one of the senior art directors there. So that's what he's doing, as his day job. But then he started doing the comics on the side whenever he saw that we were doing ours, and we help each other a lot. And he helps me with all the designs and stuff. So, but yeah, that was kind of the thing, is that I had just commissioned the artist to do like the first 8 pages of the new book, and I was like, well, this would be a pretty neat way to anybody who picks this up. This is their first look at it, basically. And then it'll get its own Kickstarter later in the year. But no, you're absolutely right. You hit it on the head when you said that yes, it is low cost because everything has already been paid for. Those floppies have been sold. There's been money made already. So this, helps to pad that and helps to pay for the next issues of some of those books, including the new one. So yeah, it's definitely a way to try to always be creative and come up with ways to, repackage. I mean, heck, Marvel and DC do it all the time. Like, why can't we, you know, to repackage existing things because you got to make money. You got to still keep making money at this if you want to keep doing it.
Because let me ask you this, in which that I manage my money. I am, I'm a digital accessibility guy. That's my job, or was my job. Looking for work. So if anybody wants to find me a job, feel free to shoot me a message. Much appreciated. But still looking. But obviously I manage my money, and one of the things that I struggle with, and the reason why I'm not doing comics, is that I have a hard time figuring out, because you're going to pump a lot of money in, and it is brutal to make money in comics. I
Hmm.
hate to say it, at least creating. And I look at it, I say, is a stock going to outperform a comic book in the next 10 years? Is it going to outperform the next 20? What about the next 30? I'm a big dividend guy, and that's my whole problem. And it's a personal problem. I'm not saying don't do something, guys. I want to make that crystal clear. But like, you have to figure out how to resell your book, because
Hmm.
there's only so many times you can sell issue 1, issue 2, issue 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there's only so many times you could resell a trade paperback, because 10 years from now, I'm going to be honest, a lot of these books, they're going to be tough to move in 10 years from now, because there's going to be a bunch of new stuff out there, right? And so it's like, it's so complicated, and this is why this is so interesting, is you're repackaging something that is done but not in a floppy, and it's a chance for people to get something cool, a
Hmm.
hardcover book that is limited, and it's also an entry point in. And I think that's the other thing too, is that on a marketing level, sometimes you just need to break even, or maybe make $200-300 on it, but now you have a marketing position where somebody could pick up this thing, and I'm sure you're going to tell me the price in a second, but it's not ultra expensive to get in, and now you're entered into the child plays universe, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. Because, like I said, I do try, to take some of the lessons of Marvel and DC. Like, why do they keep repackaging this stuff? Yes, I know it's got a bigger audience. I understand that, but the idea is still the same. Um, because yeah, there's always going to be new people discovering your book, and we've been on Kickstarter for a couple of years now, but there's still people that we're meeting and that are discovering our books. And so yeah, it is kind of a neat way to just be like, well, here it all is. It's like all in one go. And yeah, it's like I think with shipping it comes out like $32, so it's not a horrible. And if you don't want that, you can get $10 and get the digital. um so so yeah, I mean, it's pretty fun. And you're right, it has to be a choice about because one of my friends that does one of the stories in here, he struggled with this for a while, and I think he finally has come to accept that it's like, unless you have a runaway book on Kickstarter, and we're talking like a 10,000 plus Kickstarter,
Even
you're gonna
still, 10, you think 10,000 is a
yeah.
runaway book?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, but that's a whole other level. We
You're
yeah, me and
optimistic.
no, no, I'm saying, like, if you look at it, No, seriously, Andrew, because we've looked at this, like the amount of books that don't ever get past 10,000 is vast. There's so many that don't
I
even come
agree.
close.
I
Yeah,
agree. Which
but
that
then
there's the 10,000 level, then
mhm,
there's the 20, then there's the
mhm,
30, and then there's the 50, because 50, 60, 70, they're all the same as far
mhm,
as the level. And then there's 100,000, right?
yeah,
So, the point I'm making, and the reason I was laughing a little bit is that even at 10,000, I still think it's a struggle
mhm.
because while, ideally, I had Ron Malteri on, and his books do
Oh
10,
yeah.
like 12,000. And I
Mhm,
would not say that it's a walk in the park at that level either, right? In which
mhm.
that it still is a lot of work, it's still a lot of stuff. You might make money, you might have some more maneuverability on money, but you're not like getting rich off of it, you
Oh
know?
no, no, no. Yeah, no. If you can, yeah, if you can get in that range, then you're for sure you're basically paying either for your current book or for the next book is what it comes down
But
to.
I've
Yeah.
seen plenty of people who have 10,000, 15,000, and they got 30 variants.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and so it's not so simple, right?
Mhm,
Because you bring up a good point where ideally, if you keep your positions lean, so if you're doing $10,000 and maybe you have 10 variants, maybe you know what it is, you're gonna get a good rate of return. You're gonna have inventory, you can move inventory. And I mean, this is a lesson on business, but when you have 26, 30 variants,
mhm.
man, you're gonna get eaten up because those things just destroy you. They
Oh
just
yeah.
destroy you because it's not anymore. It's sometimes the printing plate issues that they got to change. There's other stuff. It's also the fact that one person orders like three covers, and then maybe even some of your covers that you paid the art
Mhm.
for weren't even ordered. I've seen that. So like it all depends. But I agree with you 100% that if you're doing 10,000 and you have a B plus business level sense, it
Mhm.
should pay for the next issue.
Yeah. And here's another thing that I take in consideration that a lot of people I don't think do because a lot of if you noticed it really feels like most Kickstarter books will just straight up start at $10. Like there's only a few that I mean ours are some of the ones that are below that, but I can understand why some creators it just seems like okay, well, I got to at least start at 10 in order to start making my money back. But that works on Kickstarter. So I've had to try to be creative of like, okay, do I have to create a different kind of tier to hit that? Because what I so especially since all are all ages and teen books, when I'm in front of a parent at a con, a $10 book is harder to sell to them. Doesn't matter how good it is or whatever, just because it's an issue with money, right? But what I have found is that if I bundle a couple of books and make them $10, then that's acceptable. One strategy that has worked really well, and I'm gonna double down on it this year to really prove its worth, is these little $5 zero issues we've been doing, uh, because they're cheap to print, uh, and people are usually willing to give up the $5 to just try it. Or I can bundle that with the issue one, and now I
Let
have a
me,
$10 sale.
let
So,
me ask you this because Kickstarter, and I'm under the presence that you have to be over 18 to be on Kickstarter.
I think so. Yeah.
Because and here's my thought. I don't know if it's true or not. If it's not true, please correct me, everybody. But you need a way to pay, and you can't get a credit card if you're not 18 or you don't have an 18-year-old co-signing with you
Mm,
on a custodialship account. So a 16-year-old could have a debit card, but their
yes.
parent needs to be on the debit card.
Yeah.
And a 16-year-old technically could have a credit card. Again, needs to be on a parent needs to sign for it, and there's very few cases that doesn't have to happen. But that's the thing is that not an 8-year-old is not going. I want that book on Kickstarter, mom, for Christmas. That
Mhm.
doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I'm not a parent, but I might browse, Kickstarter when I have a kid, and I would say, cool, all age book. I'll pick it up for my kid, but that's not where my kid is shopping.
Mhm.
But at the
Exactly.
convention, they see your book, that's why I think it's so interesting, right?
Yeah. And I think this year I'm actually going to experiment with Kickstarter exclusive books that have more pages, more like extra content versus what I sell at a con will have won't have that, so it'll be a cheaper book, but it's the same story. Like you'll still get the story, but it's basically you can get the extra stuff on Kickstarter. That's something I want to experiment with this year, because that way I can have a solid $10 book and not and still have the customer feel like, okay, I'm getting something of value for that $10. I'm not just being kicked up just because it's a Kickstarter book, you know.
And then to go even further, because we touched upon it too, is that obviously I don't think, and feel free to I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but I think your real business is at cons. I don't think your real business, because Kickstarter all age books are tough. They're
Oh
just
yeah.
tough.
Yeah.
And you said it yourself, is that mom or dad taking their kid, is when they see the book for $5 or even $10, and dad just bought $300 worth of comics. Kind of
Yeah.
bad that his son he brought doesn't get a thing, and then they see an old age book that is appropriate for him or her. That I think it's an easier sell at a con. I really do.
Oh yeah, no, no, for sure. And I mean, like I said, I don't even know if I think only one of our Kickstarters came close to cracking 2,000. But that's still it's kind of something that I learned in the shop. The reason why we were games, we were comics, and we were also toys is because I took the lesson of some of the bigger shops in the area and tried to diversify, because I never knew each month, maybe one month the comics sold more and the games didn't, or, toys sold more for whatever reason. I could depend on different sources of income. And that's why originally when I was getting into Kickstarter, people who had this all or nothing mentality, I mean, I know Kickstarter itself is an all or nothing platform, but I mean, they felt, I've seen people be like, well, if my Kickstarter fails, I'm just not doing anything. And it's like, well, that's not the case. You just got to readjust what you were asking for on Kickstarter. Maybe you were asking for too much. The point is, Kickstarter should just be one source of income, and then yes, the cons another, my website another. So that idea of different streams of income is where I'm getting at. That you can't just rely on the one, but Kickstarter is
Do
definitely
you
a
know?
healthy one.
Do you know what the average millionaires, how many streams of incomes they have?
I've heard it before, but I can't. Is it 6 or 7, or is it
I
upwards of
think it's
10?
like 8 or 9, 8 or
Uh,
9, 8 or 9 different streams of income, right? Now, I'm
mm-hmm,
not saying that Kickstarter is gonna make you a millionaire. It can. I'm sure it has for some people, or at least help them get there. But, if we treat it that way, Kickstarter is one position, doing exclusive is another, writing for somebody else is a third, being in comic shops, doing cons, you know, eBay, whatnot, all that stuff. Those are all sources of income. But
mm.
like, I find it kind of crazy that like people are like, I'm gonna live and die on Kickstarter. And I'm like,
Yeah.
because I love diversification. My whole YouTube channel, you don't know what interviews when that interview's coming, and you don't know who I'm interviewing. Everything from a crypto bro all the way to an adult entertainer and everything in between, and then you don't know when that stuff is coming. So kind of crazy, but
Hmm.
I find it so interesting, right? Because again, the point of Kickstarter, at least in my viewpoint, is supposed to kick start your idea.
Yeah.
It has not been that. It is now pre-kick order your idea, thingamabobber, money in the bucket, and go team go, seed round one, XYZ.
Yeah. Yeah. Now there's only a few people that I know that still do a true Kickstarter, but it's just because so many people have been burned, by people that don't deliver. I can see why. I mean, I know that's why we definitely put our own money into some of those early issues, because we wanted to come to Kickstarter with stuff that was complete. And for now, that is still our model, is that when we come to Kickstarter, we always have a low goal, because everything we have is complete, not just with this, but even the other stuff. So that way, hopefully it gives people some confidence, because we, like you said, I think you've already said it a couple of times, we're an all ages book. So it's already like strike against us for most people trying to make money. we're still relatively new. I think I've definitely, met a lot more people now than the first time I came on your show. I try to be out there sharing people's Kickstarters and making connections and whatnot. So that's a lot of fun. Today, I just made a connection with Dave Schwartz. Uh, so I've been seeing his work for a while, and just he finally posted out there that he was looking for some work, and I'm like, hey, like, let me know your rates. I keep a list, of artists and what their rates are, and I try to match. Was telling him this too. I try to match an artist with a project that they want to draw, or at least something that's a subject matter they want to draw, instead of forcing them to draw something that they hate, which I know has happened sometimes. So
That's so interesting. That's so interesting, right? Yeah, that's fascinating.
yeah, that new book, the artist that does Malia, which is our main book, which is our all ages book, I gave her the new one, which is about the maid. It's basically our anime book. I always tell people, if somebody had me money tomorrow, I said make an anime, this is what I would do. But she loved the concept, she loved the character, and you tell in her work that she was just having so much fun with it. She even asked me, she was like, can I kind of open it up a bit? And I was like, yeah, just have fun. Like, I literally wrote this with you in mind, so yeah, if you can make that connection with your artist, then you're going to get some great work.
So interesting. So interesting. I mean, obviously there's a lot to break down here, but I mean, you mentioned something about Kickstarter. Obviously, I even think, I think even, I mean, I'll drop a name here. I think in certain aspects, Travis Gibb is still very new in certain regards, and is cutting through the teeth, for lack of a better word here, because you have to fight every day for ground.
Hmm.
I don't think anymore that like you're only as good as your last thing you put out there.
Hmm.
I'm only as good as my last interview. Now I get the pleasure that I could republish, and I do republish on my YouTube channel old interviews, which helps to keep relevance. But like, I'm really only as good as the last thing I put out there. And I
Hmm.
think, I don't really care if you've been in this industry for 20 years. If you haven't put out anything good, you know, and everything is average. I mean, you're really average. It doesn't matter what your name is.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's funny you bring up Travis, because I mean he's definitely been one of the ones that helped me a lot. And I'm actually going to get to meet him in March because he's coming to Texas. But speaking of fighting, today they launched that Summit Comics, and I saw a lot of the people already trying to bring him down, talking bad about it, and I'm just like, God, give it a chance. But I can.
I mean, look, I'll put it this way, and I have no problem stating it, is that I don't have faith in that, because I know how tough it is universe wise. I know how
Hmm.
brutal it is. I know that they're creating something out of scratch, doing a superhero universe that isn't Marvel, DC. You're up against a gigantic wall.
Hmm.
And so I am very skeptical, and it has nothing to do with anybody's writing or the art on it. It's just like, it is so brutally hard. And then we look at what Eric July did with his stuff, and I would say half of it's good and half of it's bad. And that's really my take on it. And it's not that I'm trying to bring anybody down. I mean, I haven't read it at all. I haven't seen any copies of it. It could knock it out of the park, but I know as a fact how difficult this is when you're competing against legacy, massive legacy properties.
Hmm.
It is not easy. So you got to come out swinging,
Yeah.
and you got to deal with the skepticism, because it's just natural.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
and I tell the truth. I tell the truth on this, in which that I don't know if it's good or bad, and I'm not going to go taste something until it comes out of the oven. But I know how brutal it is, and
Yeah.
it's an uphill fight. It's an uphill fight. What they're doing, without a doubt. And I don't care what Travis has done before. This is, you're the underdog plus 1,000 in a boxing match.
Hmm. Yeah, but I think they have a lot of stuff going for them in their favor. A lot of reliability. I think that's the main thing. Is that that's what's killed a lot of companies in the past that try to do this. Is that they'll do okay for a little while, and then people start dropping the ball. I mean, somehow Image survived all that, but I don't know how many other companies could survive the same kind of lateness and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, kind of to bring it back what we're talking about here. I mean, just after that first issue we did in 2021, it was just a little 8-page preview book, literally. And it was just like, okay, we did that. Now what's the next thing? Now we're going to try a full, well, for us, 24 pages is a full comic. Let's try that next. And we achieved that. And then, okay, we got issue 1 out. And it's just like you keep going. I mean, my friend kept asking me, like, how long are you going to do this? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, until the money runs out, basically, because it's like, I have certain goals and stopping points based on what funds are available, so I could give you a pretty good estimate of turning point could be. But up until then, just going to enjoy the ride.
So let's actually talk about that because you brought up a really interesting point. Is that obviously, I mean, I have budgets on things, right? I
Hmm.
mean, I know exactly what I can and can't spend. I know exactly what type of risks I can take. And so I think that there is something to be said where, I know plenty of people who exceed their budget. I know plenty of people are massively in the hole. And I have a really good idea of how much money they're in the hole. And it would blow your mind. You say, how the hell did you get here? You
Hmm.
know? And so I think it's really interesting because I get that everybody wants to go out and get the best artist and get the best stuff for their project, but you kind of gotta go up the stairs one step at a time, right? You
Hmm.
can't just jump 10 steps and be like, I'm at the top of the staircase, guys. You go from step 1 to step 2, and then maybe on step 10, once you're stable, I guess. But I don't know. Maybe that's just how I think. And again,
Yeah.
dividend investor, and I go nice and slow. And I'm a little and my tortoise has now decided to go 2 miles an hour after 5 years instead of 1 mile an hour. And then
Hmm.
and my tortoise approach, we are shelltastic.
Yeah. No, I got you. I mean, obviously, coming from banking, I have investing too. So when you talk about that stuff, I understand all that, and you know, obviously, I have all that stuff set up separate from what we're doing. I think that's the thing. Other thing that's always helped us too is that here's a funny story for you. You want to know where we got our original funding just to start the store? Um, when me and my wife got married, we got married here in Texas, but she's originally from Pennsylvania. So her family, we did a reception here, but her family wanted to do a reception out there. So essentially, we got twice the wedding money, right? And so we got everything that we needed. We were pretty frugal, and so we had about $1,500 left, and that's when we started talking about, like, it was 2 months after we got married that the business goes in tandem with our wedding anniversary. It's like 2 months apart, and we were like, I was like, do you want to give it a try? Like, do you want to start? Do you want to take this $1,500? Do you want to buy some inventory? Start going to cons, build up that, and then eventually get a store. Like, and that's what we did. And so from that point on, it was always whatever money we make goes back into the business, and then we keep building and goes back. And I mean, thankfully, we both had day jobs that were very, and we didn't have a kid yet, so we had, you
So
know,
this is so interesting,
it's
right?
yeah. So, but
So, so so this is how you grow, right? It took me probably about 8 years to finally be able to take a real distribution
mm,
out of my business because and I mean you take stuff out, you do some stuff, you maybe buy personal book because you have to. And I can't speak. I'm like choking on my own words here. It's really bad. Excuse me. Oh, sorry, everybody. So, but I now take out a distribution. So the way it works is that I know exactly what I could take out on a distribution. Um, and the distribution is part of it goes back into the business, but the majority of my money out of my business now is a distribution that gets taken out. I would say out of the money that's profit, 60% is taken out. The other 30 or 40 goes into it of the profits. But it took forever to do that. And this is one of my biggest pet peeves in comics is that if this is a business and you get to grow it to the point At what point do you get to take a distribution? Because it's fine if it's just, I mean, Daphne Lane and Heater Landing, we're talking about this. Is it a business or is it a monetized hobby? And there's nothing wrong with either of those things. Monetized hobbies are awesome. If your hobby pays for itself and makes you an extra $1,500 a year and you love it, way to go. You're living the American dream.
Hmm.
In which that, but if it's a business, that's a whole different ball game. And I think it's something that creators don't understand is that,
Yeah.
and both are fine. You can make a lot of money in a monetized hobby. You
Hmm.
know, I like to gamble. It is a monetized hobby for me, and I do really well at it. But it's a hobby. It's not my job,
Hmm.
and I enjoy doing it because to me it's just a game. It's like
Yeah.
numbers. Just and when you're really right, oh my god, just it's and like you're looking up stats. Football is a whole different ball game. I don't interview. You do like on Thursdays or Mondays between August and February for the most part because I am busy. My Friday night is legitimately looking up stats for Sunday.
Hmm.
Terrible. It's just terrible. But, 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 but my point is that it's so interesting, right, to do that. That's why I find that story to be fascinating.
Yeah, no, no, it really is, and I understand what you're saying because yeah, it does kind of feel like I'm going to use that term, like you said, monetized hobby. Uh, it's funny because that's kind of the way the IRS looks at it, right? It's like, when are you going to make money on this? Why you keep reporting a loss? you know, that's when they declare your business no longer a business. Uh, but uh, but no, I mean, it's kind of like, yeah, everybody has to answer that question too, because like for me, like I said, I have I have a definite stopping point where like at least two of the books will end with, with small graphic novels that we could have up on for sale, or up on Amazon, stuff like that. That's kind of the next goal. And then if it stops there, then so be it. I've told my wife, these will exist. We have a son now. If when he gets older, if he's interested in this stuff and he wants to reboot all this stuff or reuse it, or use existing stuff, it's stuff that he could use. It's IP that's copyrighted. Um, so that enough is, if I can get to that point, and if I have to stop at that point, so be it. But if not, if it's out there, and I've had people that I've met, they're like, yeah, my book got optioned for such and such, never got made, but it got optioned, so I made a couple of $1,000s off of that option. So it's like, you never know. You just keep going until you either can't keep going anymore, or you decide to stop.
This is interesting too, right? So I love having huge amounts of intellectual property. Every interview I do is an intellectual property position for me. Every single one, and then it's put out there, and then sometimes I have no idea what an interview is going to do, and then fast forward, and then obviously, I mean, yeah, you promote it, you do other stuff. You cut it up, you make micro content, you could re-release it in parts at some point, which is coming, and like all of a sudden, I got 2,000 YouTube videos. The majority of it is interviews, and more a good part of that is also just 3 4 minute clips, or sometimes like a minute and a half on a particular topic. And what I find is that, all of a sudden some of this stuff has done 26,000 views. And I'm
Hmm.
like, damn. Like, like,
Yeah.
like, like, that's the thing is that like once you publish something, you could print this forever in
Hmm.
reality. Once it's published, there's no reason why you can't. Let's say that you took, you know, a story, right? And it was 4 issues, right? You made a graphic novel. You could print that graphic novel till the cows come home
Hmm.
while you're working on something else, while you're doing something else. And then every time you print it, from my understanding, it becomes cheaper because it counts against the art. So if the art to produce the book was 2 grand, and then you print it and you made money the first round, and then you print a graphic novel, every time you print it, that art becomes cheaper and cheaper and cheaper because it's almost like a negative royalty against the art.
Exactly.
And you could get to a point where every you printing it actually goes the other way. where it becomes a
Mhm.
plus. And
Yeah.
that's ultimately what you want. And that's how my interviews work, is that it's ultimately going to get to a point where it's going to become a plus because I'm going to have so much content and it's going to generate me at some point revenue on YouTube that every time I add another one in there, it's going to generate me another 10 cents for the year and then
Mhm.
another 15 cents for the year. And so like that's what I think people don't understand. I think you get it, but this is where I think the mishap, and this is why people hate me in comics because I think like a CFO.
What's the last thing you said?
I think like a CFO, chief financial officer.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm one of those.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting because, yeah, when you're a small business owner, you have to wear all the hats, and that's one of the hats that a lot of, especially creatives, hate to wear, is anything dealing with money. uh and it's just like it's there, and the only one that might get a little bit of a leeway is if you're the artist and also the writer, then you're not dealing with any of that expense, but you still got to manage your money. The thing about me being the writer is that I'm always going to have to be paying somebody else, and yeah, we look at different, that's why I'm always asking rates, because if there's something that I can match and the rates not as much as I paid for the previous book, then let's go for it. Like, let's that's what the new book is about, because I'm going to do it in black and white. It's going to lean more towards the manga anime crowd, so I'm going to see how that does. It's got a bigger profit margin per book, or at least, well, yeah, no, the preview will still have this, a good profit margin, but the final book definitely will, because I've never been against black and white books. It's just I prefer color, but now having to pay for it, I'm like, if I can make a black and white book, I think I'm gonna go that route. So.
So let me ask you this about black and white books.
Hmm.
So I don't have a problem with black and white books, right?
Hmm.
I like Walking Dead is a really good example. They recolorized that whole thing. So they did it in black and white and then they released the colored versions of it.
Hmm.
Super interesting, right? So you could always do something in black and white. And then what you can do is you can then go and then you can go at some point if the book takes off, there's money there, you could do a colored version of the book. Always. You could
Oh,
do that.
yeah. Yeah, I
Um
have the Scott Pilgrim colored versions, which I much more enjoy than the original black and white ones.
there's always that. But there also is a position where it's like black and white. I mean, it's not that the art changes, right? And the lettering doesn't change. What it really comes down to is that you don't have to color it. And
Hmm.
that's what it is, right? You still have to flat the book. You still have to do all of that or whatever that looks like digitally. I'm not exactly sure. Don't ask. I don't know how to do it. I've never done it. So anything I say should be taken with a grain of salt on the production level. But you also don't have to wait either for somebody to come in. And I don't know how long it takes somebody to color a book, but it doesn't happen overnight. And
Yeah.
that's the thing too, is that now you're it could take 2 weeks for somebody or longer. I mean, you know better than I do. How long does it take to color a book? Just curiosity.
I mean, the artist we have, she can do it like in a month and a half. It just depends. Uh,
So you really can't launch a Kickstarter with a colored book if you don't have at least 8 pages colored to give as a
mhm.
preview.
Yeah.
And you still have to wait for it, you still have to pay for it, and if you're one of those people that wants to, fully do it, you have to wait 6 weeks, give or take, for it to, be cool, the colors are done. So, in that 6 weeks where you're not making money and your money is deployed.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think that's a lot of that's kind of like the early days when you're starting. This kind of like you mentioned earlier about having the graphic novel that you're already selling while you're working on something else. That's kind of the way I feel like right now, because we do have other stuff that's already out there that's selling, and like this book that's up right now, it's stuff that's already existed and just found a new way to repackage it. And uh, the next round of this will be after the next couple of issues come out, because we're gonna we're going to do the model like smaller graphic novels, so that way they're a little bit uh, not as expensive and can get them out sooner. Uh, because especially in indie comics, you never know how far you're going to make it before you know you want to have at least something, 3 or 4 issues. I think we're going to go for 3 on ours, but I know some people do 4. Obviously, the big companies wait till 6. But yeah, that's the next step for us.
So obviously, I mean, you're gonna do that, and then graphic novels, and then also just the con game. But I think you said earlier before, and I want to circle back to it, is that you're gonna be diving more into the Kickstarter realm
Hmm.
this year versus in the con realm. And I mean, I had a different 2025 than other people had for a variety of reasons that happened to me that had nothing to do with comics. Wasn't feeling well, was sick a lot more, was dealing with a lot of stress. A lot of crazy stuff has happened to me in 2025. Just on a personal level, obviously, I don't think it's a secret anymore. Just didn't talk about it. Got laid off in June from my job. So obviously I've had a different 2025, but you were saying that you're like the cons were rough and that wasn't good. Less people had less money. Whether people have more money now or they don't, that's a debate I guess we're gonna have to wait to see how that goes because I don't know if people have more money at the moment. I don't think they do. I think that because my experience, maybe this is an indicator for everybody else, and you might know this also is that and a bunch of other people might know a lot of people are looking for work.
Hmm.
I just applied for a job. There's like 110 people, applicants on LinkedIn alone for that
Wow.
job. Um, it'd be because I'm like, I'm qualified for the job, but guess what? There's probably about at least 50 other people who are also qualified for the job. And so now it's who's the most qualified because if they pick any of us 50, and I'm assuming here, any of us 50 can do this job probably out of the 110 or
Hmm.
and I might not even be qualified. That's saying I am qualified off of it. But my point is that I don't know if people have more money now or if it's worse before it's gonna get better. I don't know. And
Yeah.
that's but I find it fascinating that because and cons are expensive. I mean, I don't know
Hmm.
how you feel, but tickets are massively expensive.
Oh
Tables
yeah.
are expensive. Um, Artists and writers are now charging for signatures. It's a mess.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I don't think we said it on the air, but yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Was that yeah, 2025 just did not seem like a good year for cons, and that was not just us. I did a lot of surveying people that I know and trust and have done this for a while, and it just seemed to be regardless of the show. I mean, there was a few outliers, obviously, but for the most part, there was people telling me, certain shows. I won't throw under the bus here. And it's like, don't judge this show by this year. We promise it's not supposed to be this way. And I'm like, okay, I'll give it one more shot. Usually, I'll give a show at least 2 years if I can afford it. But but yeah, the cons itself, they're definitely very expensive. And then we've got a couple of big ones down here that focus more on celebrities, and those can run up over $100 a ticket and stuff like that. That's just a ticket. That's not even getting into autographs and pictures, photo ops, and stuff like that. Um, but the one thing that I was going to focus on this year is, and this is actually one of the advantages of doing all ages and teen titles, is that we get invited to a lot of events that are family friendly and are sponsored by libraries, high schools, things like that. We have a Comic Con coming up at the end of February that's inside of a high school. That it's the third year we're doing it, and basically all they ask is that we host a panel of some kind, and we get a free table. And there's several in the area that'll do stuff like that. Um, there's actually a person here who does. She's been doing this for over 10 years. We worked with her a lot when we were in our store. She does Comic Cons inside one of the local malls, and so that automatically makes them free. And she'll just charge per table for vendors. And So but there's so much foot traffic, that I just make a bunch of random sales, like we were talking about earlier. Those $5 books, the 2 for 10, stuff like that is what sells well at those events. But yeah, that's kind of what's on my radar. There are a few big ones that we kept from last year that we're gonna, still go to. Um,
I,
what?
I I'll throw something out. So I forget the YouTube guy on eBay.
Mhm.
I just got turned on to him, and what he said is that, and it was dealing with attrition rate and promoting on eBay, and he said sellers are going to have to learn a very uncomfortable lesson on eBay. You're going to have to learn how to sell without promotions, which means clean titles in your stuff, clean pictures, and strong pricing. Now, if we take what he's saying and apply it to comics, you're going to have to learn how to sell your book with clean covers, good work in it, knowing how to speak to people, and really nothing fancy, but not to use my tagline for the year, but back to the basics.
Mhm.
And I think that there, and he was also saying that you also are going to have to figure out how to have much more selective merchandise. So I don't have as much funds as I had last year, due to my economic situation to pump, but I purposely pick certain merchandise, and I'm very selective. So an Aaron Judge card just came out, and I bought 20 of them. He's on the video game cover for Welcome to the Show, which is a baseball video game, and it's once a year it comes out. Picked up that merchandise because it's Aaron Judge. And when Aaron Judge does amazing things in June, those cards are going to go up. And but I'm not picking up every single little card, and trying to has selective merchandise. And I think there's something to be said about selective cons, what you're bringing there, how much it's going to cost you. I would imagine that the Comic Con in the mall, the tables aren't expensive.
No, no, it's like $100 for tables or something like that.
Person
Uh,
going to a big Texas con where it's 1,000.
yeah, the other strategy we've been doing with the same friends I've mentioned a couple of times, we started splitting tables almost from the beginning, like, because that's another way to drive down the cost. And obviously, you have to do it with somebody you trust, and these are people I've known for years, and these are my best friends. But it's for creators out there who are just doing it on their own. That is part of getting to know people in the industry and trying to find people that you can trust, and maybe eventually pop that question like, hey, would you like to share a table at this convention? Both our books are similar genres, or whatever the pitch is. And I think you mentioned that too. Yeah, learning how to pitch your book without rambling. That's a thing I see a lot of creators do, is they ramble, and
There,
it's
there,
like,
there's, I don't know if did you know ClickFunnels?
mm-mm.
Oh, so ClickFunnels is ClickFunnels is a service platform, and it's all about building a funnel, right? And so there's 3 books, and they're great. So one of the books is internet traffic, how to drive traffic to your funnel. So it's how to build your funnel, like, your products, all that stuff, driving traffic, and then there's other stuff where it's like, great, like, how do you drive traffic to your funnel? Do you do the podcast route? Dream 100, right? So who are the top 100 people who can influence your position? And the Dream 100, by the way, just I mean, the basic premise is that you could get an interview, you could advertise with them, you could just get on their email list, you could interview them, they come on your show, they could just tweet it out, whatever it is. It's how you figure out how to do it. But the idea is that it's all about, hook, story, offer, and driving traffic to what you're doing. Is
Mm-hmm.
basically those 3 books. They're $10 a piece. You can get them on Amazon. Great books, so useful. And they are a seller's guide to every problem, whether it's an internet position or it's an in person, because it's hook, story, offer. What is
Mm-hmm.
the hook to your book? What is the offer to your book? And what is your story? And by
Mm-hmm.
the way, not every one of these things has to be linear. You can
Mm-hmm.
make an offer as your hook.
Yeah.
So very, very important to understand that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you gotta pay attention too. Like I said, uh, that 2 for 10 deal, man. It's done really well because people you start off with what the original price is, and you're just like, well, knock off a couple of dollars if you buy both, um, or you have
It
extra stuff too,
on eBay, if you buy more from me, I can give you a better deal because
Hmm.
you're saving me money on shipping.
Yeah.
So I had a client who bought legitly $1,200 from me, and I lost money on certain items, but I saved myself so much money on shipping.
Mm.
So much money on shipping. And
Hmm.
I moved a lot of merchandise. And I'm like, "What else you want, man?" He's
Yeah.
like, "What else you want?" He's like, "I'm looking for this book." I got that book too. Want it? Let's figure it out. And it was
Mhm.
just like I just kept going and I just kept going. It's kind of like you go into you know, Lowe's, and you say, "I'm building a deck." Great. The guy brings you to the lumber yard, get your lumber. He says, "You're probably gonna need nails." You're damn right I'm gonna need nails. Take you over to the nail section. How you put your nails in? Got a nail gun for you. Need a nail gun. Bam. You know what? You're gonna need a screwdriver. Just what I thought. You know what it is? I'm gonna need a fire pit or a marshmallow cooker to cook my marshmallows. I got you too. You just have to have marshmallows on this section. And dude, and he brings you, and then he says, you call somebody up, I was like, it's some marshmallows, and then they bring the marshmallows into your cart. And next thing you
Mhm.
know, you just spent 200 grand, and then you got there, but you realize that you're building a deck the next
Mhm.
day. And then,
Yep.
and then he finally says, here's a number for some day laborers who can help you too. And there you go. And now you have a whole crew, you got all your supplies, and then what you realize is that, oh snap, I gotta go get some beer because my workers are gonna be tired and they're probably gonna want a beer before they have to go home because they put in a hard day's worth of work for a good reasonable price. So I might as well get them a bottle of suds. And then he says, the Target's down the street. So there
Yeah.
you go. That's sales for you.
Yep.
I'm not saying I did this intentionally, but I may have. You just don't know which part.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
no, it's true because, I think you were talking about it earlier. It's like you're really competing for that dollar when you're at the cons, right? Because they've already paid a lot if it's one of the bigger cons. You don't know if they're there to see celebrities. If they are, their money's probably tied up in that. The fan art is another thing that you're competing against, known IPs that they're already fans of. And so as indie creators, we're always going to be at the bottom because it's going to be like, wait, who are you? Like, what are you making again? And so it's like that pitch is super
I'll
important.
be honest with you, not to cut you off, but even to add to this, I even think Scott Snyder, who's writing Absolute Batman, is competing for your dollar too.
Hmm.
I don't think it's a guarantee. I don't. And I hate to say this, right? And I don't think you're just competing anymore at a convention. You're competing on Kickstarter. You're competing on eBay. I mean, you know how many people have the same products I have? We're all at war with each other. I mean,
Hmm.
we're not like physically at war, but
Yeah.
everybody is kept honest. What It's crazy what happened on eBay. It used to be that all of us used to charge for shipping. Now on cards, unless the card is over like $20 or $30, it's free shipping. And what
Oh,
happened is that because it's the only way to stay competitive, I don't have a choice on that. And my prices have to be within reason, right? Oh, sorry, of other people. And it's a crazy thing because we're all competing for the same dollar. And what we all come to the conclusion is that it's better to make 35 cents and sell your item than to make no money at all.
yeah. No, I kind of had to deal with that a little bit at the store because we did run some eBay stuff, and yeah, I kind of was at that point back then where I was like, if this is an expensive enough card, I'll just eat the shipping, and just pack it or whatever. But
So
shipping,
with the shipping, when I sell a $500 card, I'm charging $15 shipping, not because it's going to cost me 15 to ship it. It's $15 to insure it.
oh
Shipping
yeah,
is free. I say to my client, it's going to cost me $15 to ship it. It's going to
mhm,
cost me because they're like, this thing costs $7. And I said, no, 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 no. It's insured for the full 500.
yeah,
That and then they say, "Oh, now I got it," because they don't get it until you explain that they're not paying for the shipping.
Hmm.
They're paying for the insurance.
Yeah.
Big difference, because I don't care about $15 on a $500 card. I just want to make sure that if that puppy gets lost,
Hmm.
my $500 is not lost.
Yeah. Exactly.
They say, why didn't you just tell me to pay for the insurance? I say, because it's not how it works on eBay. You paid for the insurance on it. You covered the problem. And then once they realize, they're like, oh, now I get it. So some people get it. You're not paying on a $20 card or a $15 card. I don't care. I get $20 insurance for 74 cents,
Yeah.
including the shipping. A $500 card, I would ship it for free. But if I ship it for free, I also have to pay for the insurance, which means it cuts into the whole thing. Because shipping a $500 card or $1,000 card, it's the same price. It's the
Yeah.
insurance that changes.
Hmm.
So that's why, and some people get it. It's so interesting, right?
Hmm.
Shipping is a whole problem. Oh, just
Yeah.
not my thing, man. Just brutal. But I find this so interesting about the cons, because it seems to me like you found, because you're an all ages book, that where you will do well is at the family friendly conventions and not at an 18 plus convention
No.
or an adult convention. I mean, I hate to say it, like
Yeah, not at
that's
all.
not true. You might kill it at an
Yeah.
adult convention, but not because you'll be the outlier. People are like, this is wild that we're selling a teen friendly book
Yeah.
that's so safe for work at the most unsafe for workplace.
Yeah.
That's so interesting, because again, selective where you market, right? I mean, you have to. I'm sure you know the disposition of warm leads and cold leads, right?
Hmm.
I know that if I interviewed, I'm trying. If I so I used to interview a lot of wrestlers. I'm gonna get back to it. If I just interview 20 people in a promotion, the 21st person is going to be a warm lead, because once I say, look, I just went through the last 20, and I just went through your tag team partner, the person's like, yeah, I gotta come on.
Hmm.
It's a hot lead for me. If I'm shooting a message to somebody raw and I haven't interviewed anybody in that wrestling promotion, it's a cold lead, and it's going to take a little bit more work
Yep.
to get it, because I got to crack the ice. But like at a library where families are going, that's a warm lead.
Yeah. And it's also, when because parents, and especially, now that we are parents, I just tap into the thing that I know worries them because it worries me. It's like, hey, we make stuff that's safe for your kids. Like that gets them right away. Like, what do you mean? Well, it's an all ages book. And then if you have a teenager, here's a teen book. And so you don't have to, and I even throw in there because my wife's an educator. So it's important to her for this stuff to be that. So it's just like triple stack of reasons. And they're like, oh, yes, please. Let me, I literally had a mother tell me when I said, oh, these are all ages books. And she's like, oh, thank God. And I was like, I was like, yeah, she was just so relieved that she didn't have to worry about it.
This is so interesting, right? Because I hate to get political, right? But the world has become unsafe,
Hmm.
and I don't even mean politically. I mean, I think there is more crazy people in the world than there's ever been before. And I was watching something about how this man was with his daughter, and a woman was following them around, and she tried to take his daughter away from him, saying that she was her daughter in Walmart.
Mm.
And the guy was like, he explained, and he used some very interesting words together that I'm like, I'm gonna steal that from you, man. Way to go. That's a new one for me. You can find like 10 curse words, like, and like double them up in a row. And it was I highly enjoyed, but the point is that I believe the story is real, right? Because and with stuff that's out there with books, I hate to say it, but stuff gets past schools. Stuff gets
Hmm.
past school, stuff gets past parents. I don't know, when you were a kid, were your parents watching what you were reading? Because mine weren't.
No, I mean, most parents just don't have the time, or they don't have sometimes they don't have the context for it. It's like, I've loved and followed pop culture my whole life, so there's almost nothing that I can't look at and automatically know, yeah, that's not for kids, like, or just stuff like that. And there's other things, and then there's parents that are just more liberal with what their kids watch. I'm at horror cons and I have little kids dressed up like It the Clown and Chucky, and I'm just like, how do you know what that is? So, but I can't comment on that. It's not my kid, but
I
uh,
was reading a lot of stuff in the manga anime world. So I was reading DBZ, which is not a problem, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with Dragon Ball Z. Nothing wrong with Dragon Ball Z at all, right? Nothing wrong with Naruto. Nothing wrong massively with One Piece. Those three series, Bleach. There's no sex in that, right? There might be some like bikini stuff in Bleach. There might be some fun stuff going on, and there might be a little like sexual innuendos here and there, but nothing major that's going to mess up a kid. But then when you start reading stuff like Love Hina and other stuff like that, that's an adult book. And I'm reading this and I'm like 12 and I'm like, okay, okay. Like, but I don't think, I mean, it's not that like my parents are liberal or conservative in that. It's just that they're like, we don't really know. And then he's reading it and it benefited me and I enjoyed it. But like, that's the point though, is that what if I was reading something that was really messed up? Like,
mhm,
I mean, I don't know. You're probably a manga anime guy or know some of this stuff. Battle Royale.
mhm.
You reading Battle Royale at the age of 12, not a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I read Battle Royale when I was 16. Big difference. Have a better context of that book when you're 16 and 17 than you do when you're 12.
Yeah.
For those who
Yeah.
don't know Battle Royale, think of a Clockwork Orange meets Lord of the Flies.
Yep. Yeah.
So, but like that, that's why I think you're touching upon a really interesting point about all of this. Is that like there is, I think parents are concerned about what their kids are reading, and rightfully so, rightfully so.
Mhm. Yeah, so the goal for us is just for them when they see us, they know, "Oh, yeah, that company does stuff, let's say for my kids," and, there's plenty of other stuff the other companies do that's their thing, and this is just what we chose to do, and, uh, for me, it's very reminiscent. I grew up in the '80s with Saturday morning cartoons and '90s with the '90s cartoons, and so everything in the back of my mind starts as that. I'm sure I could write some dark stuff if I really reached darn down deep, but that's not where I want to go. I want to capture that feeling of you just turn on the TV and start watch this little adventure and like, oh, this is pretty cool. I don't know if you've ever seen the old '80s Dungeons and Dragons cartoon, but that's a heavy inspiration. And our main book, it's like, well, I mean, in what is it in anime and manga? It's called an isekai. It's like the character gets pulled to another world. Uh, so that's essentially what our main book is. And uh, now that I'm doing this new anime book, I have to, start promoting stuff like that. I have to start telling them, oh yeah, this other little book. It is all ages, but it's an isekai. It's essentially that's what it is. You know.
That's so funny. Oh, there's so
So,
many things I can say to that. I'm a big Isekai watcher and reader,
oh
and I
man.
like them because they can be adult, but a lot of them don't take themselves too seriously. A lot of them are fun, and a lot of them are just absurd. And my favorite stuff is like a guy gets summoned to the other world, and he's the strongest person, and he says, "I don't want to go defeat the Demon King. Screw that. I just want to hang out and like." I just want to like be an adventurer. My life was already stressful in the other world. I just want to lay on the beach and do nothing. And like well, we need you, man. He's like, not really. I'm good. You go kill the demon lord. I'm gonna stay here. And
Hmm.
he's just quietly like farming his sheep. It's great. I love it. It's great because so I absolutely appreciate that. But obviously, and then I mean, your rewards are very complex. I must say, your reward chart is extraordinarily complex. Extraordinarily complex. Fulfillment is going to be horrible for you. It's going to be so bad. It's so bad. Oh, no. Explain to me how you came up with these rewards because your methodology was, I must say, I am quite impressed. I am very confused here, and I don't know how you did it. And all I know is that when you do fulfillment, oh my God, it's going to take you a grand total of what, 3 hours at the most?
Yeah, apparently it was so simple that it even threw off Kickstarter because they flagged the thing before before they approved it, and I was like, "What is the problem?" And they're like, "Well, you need to make sure you have this, that, and the other." And I'm like, "But it's called Make 100. Like, there's 100 graphic novels, and then there's the digital. What else do you guys want?" And I guess the person realized it because they didn't answer me. They just approved the Kickstarter. I was just like,
I guarantee you. So you're probably the first person who's ever done it and taken it literally. Supposedly, this is my understanding of the Make 100, and I'm not on Kickstarter, is that you have to make 100 of one item, but you could have other stuff in there. And you literally took 2 rewards. That's all you did.
mm-hmm. Hey, but I did allow for add-ons, which people have added stuff on. So, but yeah, no, it's funny because you say that. I was checking out other creators that I know and some that I don't, seeing what they did, and yeah, maybe it's just my mind, though it is too literal sometimes, that I was just like, where's the 100? Like, I don't get it. Like, this is just another Kickstarter, you know? And so yeah, I was like, I'm going to take this literally. It's just going to be
so nice, though. It makes me want to do this for my podcast and legitly just be like, $3 for 100 episodes and just be done with it and be like, this is what I'm doing, guys. I think it'd be so much fun, right? Because it's just like, and I would even take it a different way, right? Maybe I'll do this next year and say, I'm too lazy to hunt down interviews, and I'll put it right on the Kickstarter. It's $3 because I'm lazy. And get you a spot on my show for $3. And if people give me shit for it, I'd be like, guys, I'm the most laziest person on the planet, and I have to charge something. And I thought $3 was a reasonable price for you to buy an interview spot for $3 and fill out a form, and you pick your date, and now I don't have to track you down. Like, yeah. And it's Make 100. I think it's such a brilliant idea. I might even do it for $2. Like,
yeah, as long as.
And I'm gonna say, look, guys, I can't do it for free. If I do it any other way, you're not gonna sign up for it, and I'll refund you your $2 when you show up. What do I care? I'm super lazy. Like you broke Kickstarter, in which you used it as a pre-order form. You didn't even make any money. You just wanted people to sign up to be on your show.
Basically.
But it'd be great though if all of a sudden what you do is that what you do from there is then you don't have any add-ons. You have one reward, one. And then once you sell out, you're like, I don't know what to do, guys. My Kickstarter is a success. I'm the only person who legitimately sold out of all 100 items. And then I'll make that my title. Success.
Yep.
That's what I'm doing next year. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. $2, 100 episodes, done. Just done. Like,
yeah.
Oh, it'll be wonderful.
Spread them out evenly throughout the year. So.
Oh no! I'll still do like another 100 episodes on top of that.
Oh, on top of that.
But the theory, the theory is brilliant. That order form. That's all I'm doing is I'm just trying to. And I'll put it right. I am lazy, and I need to find guests. It is $2 for my thing. Would you like to sign up to be on my show for $2? Can you afford $2? Because if you can't afford $2, I can't meet you in the middle. Like, if you need media and you can't afford $2, you should not be in this space.
Yeah, exactly.
You should really question your life choices. $2 is not. It costs more to get your Dunkin' Donuts iced tea than to be on my show.
There's your tagline.
And that will be the tagline for the whole season. Is that Oh my god, just terrible ideas here. But I don't want to back out of this because your fulfillment's gonna suck. I'm sorry. It's gonna be so brutal. But anyway, I am curious though because obviously, I mean, we kind of touched upon this before, but there's a lot of stuff that's going on in comics. Obviously, Diamond is a nightmare, and that doesn't affect you directly, but it affects the industry as a whole. And anything that affects the big guys affects the indies because there's the whole thing with what's going on with Netflix with Warner Brothers Discovery and the rumors that they want to shut down DC, which is a 9-hour conversation in of itself. And my viewpoint is a little bit different than others because I'm a shareholder in Netflix and I was an early shareholder. And I want to remind everybody that I told you all to buy it and you didn't listen. You didn't listen, and you would have made a lot of money if you did listen to me. And by the way, you should buy Netflix now too. You will make a lot of money too in that regard, everybody. But that's not financial advice. That's just common sense. And if you don't believe me, listen to Jim Cramer because he told you to pull the trigger today on Mad Money. Welcome to Crave America. I am not affiliated with Jim Cramer, but booyah.
I haven't heard that guy's name in forever.
But and then other stuff. Obviously, everybody's vying on Kickstarter. We have a lot of people producing stuff. We got an economy that is complicated. It is a sweet but rebellious teenager. Is how I describe our economy. It is good natured, but it's like Francis from Malcolm in the Middle. So I'm curious where you see it all going because we got a lot of things that are really uncertain in the industry. I think is in the world in general right now, and that definitely affects how you do things and even where it's going and what people can and can't do because, well, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I will share a little tidbit real quick about Diamond because I did deal with them back in day one at the store. That was when they still had the monopoly and everything. And ironically, I had been warned about them forever and ever how bad they were, and I honestly never had a problem with them. So I don't know if I just got lucky or what, but they gave all kinds of free stuff and had crazy sales. Maybe I mean that's probably. I mean I know why they went under is because they should have never shut down during COVID, but after that. I've only seen the second hand about moving to Penguin and what's the other one, Lunar, and so I've never had to deal with them directly. But I'll tell you what, I mean, not before the pandemic, I always said I would consider maybe opening a shop again one day, but now, no, because that's just a lot. Yeah, it's a lot, and you would still have to follow the model that we did, which is a diversified shop in order to survive. So like that's why when I see a straight up game shop or a straight up comic shop, well, game shops depending sometimes they can survive especially they really go hard on the card games, or sometimes if you're a store that has enough room for Warhammer, that's another good seller. Anyway, point is, you're asking where it's going. Like I mean, yeah, it's just been one thing after another since 2020, man. It's just crazy, and the only thing that I encourage people to do is if you're doing this and you can keep doing it, that's another good thing about the cons is like seeing people actually happy with your product. Because you might get a message from the Kickstarter. That is a thing that you don't get to see really on the Kickstarter. You might understand it because maybe somebody backed you once and then on the next Kickstarter you notice, oh, that's so and so, they backed me again. Like I've had people back every Kickstarter that I don't know who they are. They're not friends or family. That's a good feeling because, I need strangers to buy the books in order to keep going. But yeah,
you need people who aren't doing you favors.
Yeah, exactly.
Comics, right? I mean, a lot of people back a lot of people's books, and it's complicated, right? I would say as a podcaster, majority of the people who watch and listen to me on YouTube don't know them at all. So it's a very organic audience, and I have had people who have been subscribing to me, no idea who they are, no idea. And every once in a while you ask somebody where they're from, and I'm like, I had a guy who's in the United Emirates.
Mm.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and he likes what I do, and he likes he likes the fact that you don't know who's going to be on my show, and
Yeah.
guy watches a lot of stuff, and I asked once, and there you go. But like, it's very interesting because the people that I do know, they don't watch my show.
Mhm.
It's weird. Like all the people in comics and voice acting and wrestling, they don't watch my show. The
Yeah.
crazy, it's so weird. It's so weird. It's like, but it's also rewarding because I'm like, you guys aren't watching me, and you're on, and everybody else is. Who
Mhm.
I don't know who find you people fascinating. It blows my mind.
Yeah. No, it was kinda like the people who have backed our Kickstarters, 2 Kickstarters ago, we had our first overseas one. It was the UK, and then this one so far, as long as they stick, I've got 3 different places, like, I don't know, UK, Australia, and I don't know where the other one was. But but yeah, it's just crazy, to think, hey, somebody in this other country wants our stuff, and especially if they're a return bidder, that's even more meaningful. But yeah,
Right.
all this stuff, all this uncertainty, I mean, we're living in an interesting time because not only is all this uncertainty surrounding all these IPs that we've all grown up and followed for years, but the copyright's almost out on a lot of them, and that's another issue that's we're going to deal with in our lifetime to see like what's going to happen with that. So it's just stuff that like people who were in those past generations that were enjoying this stuff didn't have to think about or whatever. It was just always there, and stuff is changing in the industry so fast nowadays, all these buyouts and whatnot. It's like, well, who is going to own my favorite IP next year?
Uh, I mean, it's really interesting who's gonna own what. I mean, I don't even know who owns what. I mean, Dark Horse sold themselves, right? Isn't Dark Horse owned by somebody major now?
I
No.
feel like they are, but I can't remember who offhand.
I'm gonna look it up because I'm curious. So DC is owned by Warner Bros. Discovery.
Yeah.
Marvel's owned
Mhm.
by Disney.
Yeah.
Image is owned by Image to a
Mhm.
degree, right? I mean, I think that's pretty self, standard. I think that the Titan, I don't know who owns Titan. IDW is a publicly traded company, um,
Mhm.
in that regard, but they could be bought out too because all you got to do is just buy the stock and buy enough of it. You could have yourselves a hostile takeover. Not
Yeah.
like one of those this year. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't help it. I'm looking up with this Dark Horse thing because now I'm curious.
No, it's okay. No, I can keep talking about some of this other stuff. I mean, yeah, there's just so many companies that have just kept on trucking. I mean, down here, just south of us, we have Iron Arctic Press. So I get to talk to some of the people from there, like even Ben Dunn. They just keep on trucking. They just keep going. And uh,
So Dark
even
Horse is owned by Dark Horse Media, but I
oh,
think they're
okay.
kind of selling themselves essentially, and I think their owner is Embracer Group, right? So
Hmm.
so Embracer Group is a publicly traded company, right? And it's apparently a video game company.
Oh, okay.
So Dark Horse was sold to
Yeah.
a foreign video game company that I think trades on the Nasdaq and the Stockholm
Huh.
Nasdaq. So I don't even know technically what it is, but it's wild, right? I mean, it's a Swedish company, right? So Dark Horse is owned by a video game company.
Well, they definitely seem to have done better being owned by a video game company than Valiant Comics did back in the day when Acclaim bought them, because they killed that real quick.
That's my point, though, is that you raise up a good question where I don't know who's going to own what, right?
Hmm.
I mean, look, Sony bought Crunchyroll. I mean, that's a big deal, right? I
Yeah.
mean, this was what, maybe 2019, 2020 for 1.1 or 1.2 billion. So like there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world, and there's a lot of mergers. There's a lot of I'm buying this, you're buying that. I mean, I own my stuff, but who's to say that my stuff can't be bought, right? I mean, look at TKO, WWE, UFC. It became under a parent company called TKO. Who would have
Uh-huh.
thought that WWE would have been taken from being public ownership of the McMahons and that family to now being a brought into a different publicly traded company with UFC?
Yeah, I got to experience that with the stock that I had. There's an extremely small scale, but it made me understand how this could happen. There was a during the pandemic, I was looking for all kinds of like online stuff to do just for extra money. And one of the ones that I found was, I think it was called like usertesting.com or something. Basically, they would just send you like surveys and you would just get paid for them. It was actually pretty decent money for what you were doing, right? Well,
Box
they,
Dollar. Box Dollar is another one that does that.
yeah. And I had bought stock in user testing, not only like, I don't know what it was. It wasn't that, I can't even remember what it was, but it was very low amount of money. and and then some company bought them. I remember getting the email. I had already stopped using them at that point because I had another job. I got the email they were going to be bought out. Next thing I know, in my Vanguard account, it said your user testing, like it automatically sold because that company doesn't exist anymore because they got bought out. So I made like $100 off of that. And I was like, man, can you imagine if I owned more stock? You know, that company got bought out and now I
I
see,
made a lot of money on this WWE TKO trade, and I still have TKO converted into TKO, and I made a lot of money. I
yeah.
mean, I made a lot. I had a very good position in WWE at $9 a share, and TKO
Uh-huh.
sitting over at 200. I made
Oh,
a
wow.
lot of money, and I think it's a great company. I think it's a great company. And then they discontinued their dividend, and then they raised their dividend. So WWE's dividend was 12 cents. They've raised their dividend. They started with a 36 cents dividend. They did a 38 quarterly dividend. Now they're at 72 or 74 cents. So they have
Quarterly or
legitly
monthly.
outperformed their dividend. They do share buybacks, and those companies are massively profitable,
Mhm.
massively. Where the essentially the merger and new stock was at a 20 billion valuation. I think that company's now valued at 42 billion.
Oh, wow.
Made a lot of money, a lot of money. Good trade for me. What I really wanted is I wanted my because they were bought by Endeavor. Endeavor was taken private, right? And in this whole TKO group position, which was its own thing. I really wish the Endeavor shares were converted to TKO
Mhm.
on top of my WWE shares. Oh, I would have made so much more money. I would have made like 3 or 4 times as much. And in case anybody hasn't figured out, I love money. I love
Yeah.
but boy, I loved it. And then WWE, it operates as WWE. UFC is not in WWE. It's great. They keep the companies separate. It's great
Mhm.
because TKO and Endeavor and Silver Lake let those companies do what they're supposed to do, which is
Mhm.
operate independently. And they'll promote a UFC event on WWE, like as an advertisement, or they'll mention it saying UFC Fight Night's happening tomorrow night. But Conor McGregor is not coming to WWE. It's great.
Yeah.
But I've had buyouts, I've had all of that, and I love it. Comcast, oh my god, I made so much money on that too. I dumped my spin-off. Oh my god. I dumped my spin-off in pre-market before I was even before it even hit the market when it started trading, and I made more money by dumping it in pre-market than I I love it. I love it. It's like a sport for me.
Mhm.
But I digress. This is not financial literacy with Andy. That is tomorrow night. No, that is not tomorrow night. Trump is on tomorrow night. But obviously we spoke about a lot of stuff, but I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself. So where can people find you, bother you, hit you up, back the campaign? Because you got 3-4 days left, I believe, and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you just go to childsplaycomics.com and if you scroll to the very bottom, we have every single social media, with the exception of Instagram, and you can pick with your favorite and follow us. And yeah, we got as of recording this night, we got 3 days left. It's going to end on Sunday, the February the 1st, probably around 9 o'clock Central Time. So yeah, I mean, I'd be happy with a couple of different goals at this point. Let's at least get to 50 copies sold, or let's get the Kickstarter over 2,000. So I'd be happy with either one at this point. And there's a lot of watchers too. That's like, and I don't blame them. I'm that way too. I am absolutely the person that watches the campaign, waits for the 48-hour reminder, and then I go bid. So I can't say anything. So I'm watching all these people, and I'm like, I know what y'all are doing because I do the same thing. So then at that point, I'm just waiting for the last 48 hours. So hopefully we get that nice last push, though, based on the amount of watchers that I see. But yeah, it's going to be a leaner 2026, but I think it's going to be a healthy 2026 because of that. So
I love the optimism. I love it. You are much more optimistic than I am. I can promise you that. But I will tell you something. I'm going to give you a nice piece of advice. You will be wrong, and I will be right because I'm a pessimistic, which means I'm always right. Not. It's my favorite joke. It's one of my favorite jokes. So I'm always right eventually. No. But obviously, I mean, yeah, I've been saying it, all jokes aside, that you have to support people. You got to check out people's campaigns. You got to back them if you can afford it. And all that stuff, because it does go a long way. And then it's my show, so I'm going to promote myself. I am Pop Anime Comics on X/Twitter. Pop Anime Comics on Instagram. I was looking for your Instagram. It makes sense that I couldn't find it now. I was going to invite you for a collab on Instagram. Promoting this thing.
That's a whole other story.
I understand. And Instagram is not for everybody. I understand, and not everybody wants to be all over social media.
Oh no, they don't want us there. We got hacked, and they won't give it to us back. So I gave up. I can't even deal with a real person. So I was just like, forget it. I'll go to Blue Sky.
I got it back. Thank God. Oh my God, I was very upset.
Yeah.
It feels you feel violated.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
they feel very violated.
They almost took out my Facebook too. So
see, my Facebook and my Instagram are not linked for this very reason. Because it can go really bad really fast.
I
purposely unlinked those two things. I don't want them linked, and it makes sense, right? But I also have 3 different Instagram accounts for 3 different reasons, but not the point. So I am Pop Anime Comics on Instagram, and you can find my other Instagrams, such as Conversations in Pop Culture and Big Boy Card Collecting, by going to my Instagram. They all have different purposes. Feel free to do that. I also have a Facebook, Pop Anime Comics. As I stated before, we are on YouTube, so please subscribe on YouTube if you're watching at Pop Anime Comics. I do TikTok, Pop Anime Comics. I got a lot of content, guys, on YouTube. I'm going to just say this once. When people subscribe, it means a lot. I have 902 subscribers on YouTube. We're trying to get to 950 by the end of the year. I think we can do it. I got a lot of content coming. It is a goal, and hopefully we're going to be able to do it. So if you're watching this and you see it, please subscribe on YouTube. It means a lot. It goes a long way, and it's free. And please watch my content if you can as well. I have 2,000 plus videos up there on a lot of micro content, a lot of YouTube content, a lot of interviews. You name it, I got it. Please go check that out. And then finally, I do run an eBay store. So look for comics and collectibles. Come shop with us on eBay at Pop Anime Comics Collectibles. And I sell stuff like this in my store. I sell stuff like this in my store. I sell books like this in my store. I sell stuff like this in my store. I sell stuff like this in my store. Limited 25 Angel Reese's. I do sell stuff like this, which are one-on-ones that come in my store. I sell stuff like this every once in a while. And then every once in a while, I sell cool stuff like this, which are other one-on-ones. So stuff like that comes into my store all the time. And you never know what's going to come into my store, when it's going to come into my store, why it's in my store. And that stuff does tend to sell quickly. So buy a lot of cool stuff. And I sell everything from $7 cards all the way up to $1,500 plus cards. You name it, I've sold it. And little tidbit for everybody, I will be having an Ultimate Fallout 4 in my store in the next day or two. So if you're looking for that book, I know it's a nice book that people want. I have a copy of it, a pretty nice copy, legitimately taken out of its wrapper. maybe like 3 days ago. So really fresh, really clean. Should grade out as a 9.6 or a 9.8. Super clean. So if you're looking for that book, everybody, I have one of those, and I have an idea what I want for it, but you'll see what I'm asking on eBay for it. And I'm not unreasonable on it. I'm not unreasonable about it. So definitely, if you're in the market for that book, I got it. As well as a few other cool big books that are coming because, well, I need the money. So, and before you ask, I do have a copy for me. So it's all right. They both are immaculately clean, though. Nicest copies probably out there, because they've been in like an oak wooden chest for the last, sealed in the black wrapper in a bag and board in an oak wooden chest in a room that's dehumidified. Comics are a serious business.
Yeah.
And I'll say this too: there was no other books around them. I had a whole room. No. I'm not that would be committed, right? That'd be committed. They were in an oak chest in a room that was dehumidified. So absolutely immaculate. They look too good to be true. So there you go, everybody. That's my whole eBay store. All that. Pop out of my comics, pop out of my comics collectibles. And then the final thing is that I'm going to be talking about something very controversial, probably live on Friday. Dealing with Cooper Flag and cards. And I'm going to be taking off my roasting hat for some people. So ridiculous position on Facebook, and I'm going hard at it. On Big Boy Card Collecting, which is my other YouTube channel. So if you want to see me go after somebody in a very interesting way, there you go, everybody. There you go. So that's everything I got going on. Pretty much me. Just type in "pop out of my comics," you'll find me. And if you don't, something will pop up, and hopefully you'll be entertained regardless. But anyway, I do want to give you a chance to have the final word.
Well, thanks again for having me on. I was flattered when you reached out. I was like, "Oh, Andrew, this is crazy," but yeah, I always appreciate it. Any help promoting stuff. So, and it was a very interesting conversation. I knew we were going to get into finances just because I remember from last time you're a finance guy. And I don't get to talk finance with a lot of people, so I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime. And I'm just happy that we got to do it. And because there were some technical difficulties in figuring out my schedule, but we did it. And I don't think I could have said that any better myself, everybody. And that is a wrap.